All right, drawing while talking, probably obvious, but I was going to do some sketchbook work today. Wanted to jump on, make a quick video. Um, yeah, this is awesome. I've been pretty busy all day, and busy with non-creative stuff, like trying to clean up and trying to organize. Places wreck, and like, man, I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot. That happens a lot. Anyways, all right, let's talk about the drawing, which is more interesting. So, if you can make it out, this is Heracles wrestling with, I think the name is Anatius. Anyway, I can't remember if it's one of the labors or if it's just an encounter, but Hercules, wrestles with a guy, Anatius, and as I recall, he's a villain when Herc shows up. Anatius is roofing his house or his temple or something with human skulls. So Anatius is a giant, or he'll wrestle opponents, and if he wins, he kills you. Which I don't know why it seems like a drawn out way of saying it's a fight to the death. It seems kind of the agreement seems kind of unnecessary. Why doesn't he just why don't you just wrestle and he kills you, or you win and he doesn't? And I said, by the way, I'm looking at an action figure here, an action figure, a doll, for reference here. If you saw that, I guess I'm holding it off camera, but I don't know, I can't really see, I can't really tell. Anyway, no shame in that. I definitely recommend doing that. Having a reference, it's a big help. Not even that, honestly, I mean, yeah, you can work without a reference, and God knows I've done that with some, and but what really, just more for like you personally, it's going to drive you insane. Trying to work without a reference, it'll make you crazy. So you're more kind of, it's cheating is not really the issue. It's more, I really think it's more your sanity that's the issue. You should spare yourself, because I mean, you could draw, you could just make lines. You could just keep going on the drawing until it looks right, and you'll probably get pretty close, and then you can fix it if need be. But yeah, you should have mercy on yourself and not do that. So I don't know if the proportions are, I'm not really so much concerned here with the proportions of the figures, because I want them to be relatively accurate. This is more thinking ahead. This will probably be a full-blown illustration for the novel, for the Heracles novel that I've been working on, and also, yeah, I'm seriously thinking about doing this as a sculpture for a lot of reasons. I think it's pretty. I want to do something dynamic. I want to do something very with a lot of movement, with a lot of energy, a sculpture like that. And so this seems like a good candidate. And I wanted to do something with multiple figures interacting. Not multiple, at least two, right? But at least two, not just a single solo figure. So one thing I should also say though is it's a little bit, yeah, it's kind of odd to make. I mean, you could ask, like, and I ask myself this sometimes, like, look, why make the drawings for sculpture, right? Because I could make armatures, and I could make these two figures, and then I could put them together. Like you take action figures and you do things with action figures, or you can put toys, action figures together and see how it's going to work out. So yeah, I've done that some. It's not bad. It's not a bad. Obviously, it's if I actually make sculpture outright, I mean, it is actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to make both these figures and have them interacting. I guess what I'm just trying to do with the drawing is, well, I like to draw, so that's a big part of it. Another big part of it, though, is yeah, it can be pretty easy to try out the figures and in pencil, think through them in pencil, think through how this is going to work, and yeah, that's going to come up with, where is the armature going to be for the sculpture, or how's this thing going to, how am I going to make this thing, how am I going to put all this together. I'm especially interested in, yeah, like I really want the figures to be dynamic. I really want so all right, maybe come back to that. Yeah, so I'm trying to think. I worked with a model, and it went okay, but I'm really trying to think through how much. I mean, I think I want the motion really exaggerated, even of Herc. So I'm doing a drawing here of Herc, and I'm going to kind of intentionally exaggerate it, kind of intentionally. Well, not kind of. I'm actually going to do it and make it very exaggerated. Make it because the problem with working with models is I think it's Philip Hale. I remember talking about this, but I'll come to that in a moment. Yeah, the thing with working with models is models are great and it's fantastic, and you definitely should work with models. But it's hard to get them not to, and this is certainly not their fault. It's hard to get them not to be self-conscious. But what I'm trying to say is there's an English artist, British artist, English. I believe he's English, but neither here nor there. There's an artist, Philip Hale, excellent painter, excellent draftsman. I think he's fantastic. But one of the things he said he does is he makes tons and tons and tons of sketches. And what he uses soccer players. He uses photographs of soccer players. And yeah, I could totally see why he did it. And he said, he mentioned it, but I can also totally see why he would do it this way. He said there's no. They're not being self-conscious at all, right? They're playing this game, and they're really trying hard to play this game well, and that's taking all their focus. And so the body, the contortions, the poses, the things that they do, they're completely natural. There's no self-consciousness to them, and that's very hard to get. It's very hard to capture artistically for a lot of reasons, but it's also just very hard to get. You can't really. It's really hard to expect a model to do that, unless your models are, I guess, unless you're at a soccer match or something like that, or horses, animals, figures. It really it's an issue. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm just trying to exaggerate. Maybe not even exaggerate, but I'm trying to think about how Herc is going to be, like how far back, how back does he need to be? Because I want this to communicate a lot of energy, right? I want this to be really a dynamic sculpture. I want you to really be able to feel motion, energy, physical effort from the figures here. But to get back to the story of Heracles, so he wrestles with Antaeus, and every time he throws Antaeus to the ground, Antaeus springs back. He recovers instantly every time that he's thrown to the ground. So Herc's not going to be able to defeat him by taking him into the ground, the conventional sort of wrestling strategy. And so Herc, right, understandably, he seizes Antaeus and picks him up and bear hugs him, crushes him while holding him off the ground so that he can't touch the ground and heal. So that is the subject matter here. So yeah, I probably will. Depending on how much I like this drawing, I need to look up. I think it's Corot. It's Corot or Courbet, and I always mix them up, not surprisingly. There's a, I think it's a Corot painting. I'm sure I'm getting it wrong, of wrestlers, and I need to look that up. That would be a big, help. It'd be something good to look at. So, I say, really just trying to get a feel for, right, how dynamic, how energetic. Going to want to make the legs. The legs are going to be interesting here. The right, the chest, the torso. Yeah, I get that. You need to think about how the legs are going to be positioned. Because the legs obviously are bearing. Is he pulling? I don't know. Yeah, I so. Point being, I'm probably going to do a lot of sketches with this and probably try a lot of experiments with the legs. Although, experimentation's good and you learn a lot, but a lot of times with drawing, a lot of times with thinking things through this way, you come back to the original idea that you started with. That intuitive idea seems best in the end, after you've gone through all this process of trying to get away from it. All right, I'm going to have to cut out. So I'm going to work on refining this as a larger drawing and refining it in the sketchbook as well. I'm also going to think a lot about how I want to handle the legs. Yeah, I definitely think I want them, definitely should be bent, definitely should convey. I think this leg coming forward, maybe this leg coming back more. I think that's gonna be more interesting if the legs are going in the opposite way, like if this leg's going back and this leg's coming forward, as if he's just seized Anatius and he's stepped forward and he's proceeding to then crush him. All right, yeah, for sure. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for checking out the work. Much appreciated. Comments, constructive criticism. Let me know what you're working on. Definitely interested to hear what people are working on themselves, what kind of art you're doing, what you're reading, and all that good stuff, because that's pretty fun and cool. Also gonna have to think about the arms a lot, obviously. Yeah. All right. No, I won't keep you any longer. All right. Thanks for checking it out. Have a great day. Peace out.